So I like to go deep in my life, and I'm going to invite you to go deep with me today. And I'm going to invite you to entertain some things that we've been taught throughout our lives that may or may not be as big a picture as we could be embracing. So for some of you, this might be, yeah, I knew that. And for some of you, it might be a little new. And for some of you, it might be just something to ponder, to consider. So first of all, how many of you have heard the saying or have experienced a dark night of the soul? Oh, yeah, a lot of us. Okay. How many of you have heard the concept of shadow side? Yeah. How many of you have heard the saying, light overcomes the dark? Yeah. One more. How many of you have heard that the dark side of the force is evil, Luke? Yeah, we've heard that one too. Okay, and a lot of us grew up, at least my age, we grew up with black hat meant evil, white hat meant good. And that's changing. It's changing. Let's consider Lilith. Do you remember Lilith? She was Adam's first partner. It was said when she left Adam that she cavorted with demons. I've always wondered what that meant, and if maybe I'd done a little of that myself. Had I cavorted with demons and didn't even know it? Do you know what her name meant? What it translates to? Of the night. Of the night. You see, we've been associating darkness with evil, or bad, or hard, or difficult for a long, long time. And my journey really forced me to look at that. Forced me to ask, does that make sense? Does it? Is darkness really that evil? Does it make sense if you're inside your house and it's late at night and you hear somebody scratching on the lock at your back door and you think somebody's coming in? Do you pick up the phone and call the police and say, the darkness is really bad. There's something bad here. We don't do that, do we? There's somebody breaking into my house, hiding in the dark, yeah. But we don't call the darkness bad. Do we blame the darkness for what we experience as being unkind or rude? We do, don't we? We blame it on, some of us blame it on the darkness. And we've used the darkness, the concept of darkness, to dehumanize people. Not so recently in our past history did we use that as a way to say, oh, you're not worthy. Yeah. We've had a really strange conception about darkness. So how do we reconcile that with what we just heard in Genesis? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. And the darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. Or how do we reconcile that with what the Hopis say? In their creation stories, they say that in the beginning there was space and the Creator. Or the Apache, who said, in the beginning, all that existed was darkness and water and wind. Or the Egyptians, who say that the oldest god was Nun, and Nun was the primeval waters, and there was nothing. There have been all kinds of references in our creation stories about space and darkness and water and nothingness, or another way we might think of it as no thingness. No thing. How do we reconcile that with the Chinese teachings about yin and yang? Yin being the sacred feminine, the receptive, the dark, the cool, the stillness. How do we reconcile that with their concept of yang, which is light and bliss, ecstatic, life expressing itself? And they talk about the yin and the yang as these two energies dancing together, interweaving. Not one is greater than the other, but both needed in harmony in order for creation to even exist and to maintain balance. That's a very different perspective, isn't it? Carl Jung talked about shadow side in a way that some of us might not have realized. He said that it was the unconscious realm. And he said there were different elements within the unconscious realm. We would find there what we were afraid of and what we were ashamed of. And that's what most of us associate with shadow side. That's what we're going to find, is what we're afraid of and what we're ashamed of. But he also said that in that darkness was our primal nature. Doesn't that sound like Genesis? Our primal nature, the beginning, the origins of our nature. He also said there we would find our creativity and our qualities. Not just what we were uncomfortable with, but our qualities. And I would take that a step further. I would offer that that's where you find your spiritual gifts. It's in the stillness, it's in the silence where they arise. And they become familiar to us. And we say, oh, I've always known that about myself. It's in the stillness. Psychologists tell us that if we don't look at our shadow side, then we don't address those fears, we don't address what we're ashamed of, and we project it onto other people. And we know what that looks like. That means we're blaming people. We're shaming them. We're criticizing them. We're gossiping about them. I bet nobody here has ever done any of that. Yeah. My family, that was the conversation that took place at the dining room table, and a dining room, but a kitchen table at night when we were having dinner. It was criticizing everyone else so that we would feel better about ourselves. Yeah, it was very sad, very sad. It took me a lot of years, and I'm still working on that one. Judy can tell you. She catches me catching myself. Don't say that. Don't think that. How can I reframe that? And there is a way to be with that. There is a way to be with that. We can find compassion. We can find compassion with our thoughts that hurt. Compassion with our words that hurt. For ourselves first. And then for the person that we were projecting that blame onto. And that's what that womb meditation we went into, that's what it's all about. That's what the grandmothers taught me, was the way to be with emotions. The difficult ones and the beautiful ones. Because in that meditation, the difficult emotions are really wounds inside of us. They're needs that want to be met. And the minute they're met with compassion, they just rest, and they relax, and they dissolve. And those beautiful emotions that we love, the kindness, the respect, the joy, they expand. So it was a great gift for me. A great gift for me to realize that all those things that were hiding in the darkness of me were some painful things that there was a way to be with, and there were some tremendous qualities and gifts that finally got to come out. And I got to say, you know what? It's okay for me to have these gifts, and they're beautiful, and I want to express them. And one of them was sound. To be able to really, really experience the gifts of sound. So let me ask this question. Do we really fear the darkness? Or do we fear what we hide in the darkness? Do we elevate the light because it's really better? Or do we elevate the light because we associate the light with qualities we love? And what would happen if we allowed ourselves to consider that maybe the darkness that we just heard about in Genesis is just as much with the spirit of the divine as is the light? They're just different expressions of divine love. And is there anything of the Creator that is not worth loving? Isn't it beautiful to know that the night falls and we sleep, we rest, we see the stars? And isn't it beautiful to wake up to the light of day and see that glowing and beautiful light? Isn't it beautiful to see the light in our beloved Jesus and know that he lived that gorgeous light? But he also lived in the presence of stillness, because you can't embody that much light without also embodying that much darkness. It is the nature of our universe. It is the nature of creation. What if we allowed ourselves to be safe in both? What if we let go of those old perceptions? Sometimes it's appropriate to say, that was an interesting point of view, but is there something greater? So, my life pushed me. Have you ever had that experience? Your life sort of forces you to look at the things that might be new and wonderful. When I was in my 30s, my body was producing as much testosterone as a teenage boy. My female organs were literally atrophying. And I will tell you, my perceptions were different from that male perspective than they were from a very feminine perspective. So it forced me to reconcile, to ask myself, what was it that had caused me to break faith with my femininity, with my feminine essence? And what I found at the root of that was abuse. When I healed the abuse, I could reclaim my femininity, but I also then had to develop a new relationship with the sacred masculine. So I had to step into the yin and the yang, the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, in order to find inner peace and understand these two energies and how they work when they work in balance. As I dedicated to that journey, when I was in Egypt on the Nile River, I was taken into the sacred feminine completely. I was space. And I held all the stars and all the planets and every hope and every dream of every human being that ever existed, every being in creation that ever existed. It was slow, it was still, it was complete compassion, complete love. And then I was there for 24 hours. So it's embedded, it's in me. When I returned from the Nile, I went into an experience in sacred sound and in breathing, where I was complete white light for an hour. Complete bliss, total bliss. There was nothing else but bliss, overflowing in bliss. And then, as if to say, this is the journey of your life, daughter, Jesus came to me in a vision, not in the light, as I thought if I ever was going to encounter him, it would be. He came in the darkness. And he loved me like I have never been loved before, till my body was shaking in the darkness. Until I finally said, that's as much as I can hold. And that was the word that became the journey of my life. How much love can I hold? And it was my native elders that taught me then what it meant to hold. That to hold means to hold everything without prejudice, without judgment, without discrimination. Everything. From my worst thought to my best. To the most harmful thing that someone could say to me, to the most beautiful thing that they could say to me. To hold it all in love, because it all originated from the Creator. And we were all born in love. And we all experience the limits of that love as friction, they call it, friction. It just means you bumped into each other in your journey. You stretch something further than you were really able to hold. It's all right. You can and you will hold it as you open to love. Whatever flavor of love you can get to. Kindness, gratitude, compassion, respect, just presence. I'm just going to be with this. Whatever version of love you can get to, it will be perfect. And then, as if to reinforce this concept of holding, my husband and I went to France. And we went to many of the cathedrals there. And when you go into the cathedrals, most of them have a section of the ceiling that is painted deep, deep blue, deeper than this, dark, dark blue with stars. And if you look at the statues of Mary, she has a moon above or below her head and stars. And we went to visit the Black Madonnas in all different cathedrals, reminded over and over and over again, we were born from this womb of space, of loving space. We are the waves of that sound and that love. We are the light that emerges from that womb as beautiful expressions of the divine. And there's a gift to that balance, to that recognition, this balance of yin and yang, of sacred feminine, and the darkness and the womb, and the sacred masculine light. There's a gift, because in that darkness our own spiritual gifts emerge. Our intuitive wisdom emerges. Our emotional wisdom emerges. This great gift for all of us to experience the wisdom that lives inside the emotions. We value our existence simply because we exist. And as I was sharing in the workshop the other day, that was really important for me when I was critically ill, to recognize that I had value simply because I existed, not because I did something or achieved. To find grace in that sacred feminine energy. We listen with more compassion. We hear the divine voice. We hear it in new ways. So my invitation to you is, could we consider changing our perceptions about how we talk about darkness? Could we elevate it a little bit? Maybe a lot? Maybe it's too early to say to someone who needs a prayer, I'll hold you in the darkness and send you light. That might not go over so well yet. But we can accept, I will hold you in love. I will hold you in eternal love. I will send you light. Knowing that it's all part of the creative experience. When I hold someone who's ill, I hold them trusting that the Creator already knows what's best for them. My love is enough. Your love is enough. I'd like to leave you with a sound, because sound is what emerges in that stillness, right? In the beginning was the word. So I'd like to leave you with a sound as a blessing, as a way for us to let the stillness fill us, and open to our own sacred sounds, new thoughts, new thoughts. small.